Because our life experience is primarily based on this planet, many haven't put much stock into what goes on outside the Earth's atmosphere. But that doesn't mean nothing's going on. What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? How did all this start and what was before that? These are some of the most frequently asked yet seldom answered questions we've had probably since we were conscious of our ability to think. When you start to see your body as a universe, it shows the micro and macrocosmic connection we have with everything, where everything is a smaller part of a bigger thing. As chaotic as today's world is, it demands more of our consciousness, leaving us to believe this is all there is. But is it? See, life exists on at least 3 planes. Today's world would rather you focus on the physical, being controlled by a man-made clock, telling you when it's time to get up, when to go to work, and when to eat and sleep. But there's a whole nother concept of time few of us allow ourselves to experience: the inner mind's eye. When you allow your mind to stretch beyond the parameters of this planet, which confines only the physical, when you tap into your natural essence of knowing and not settle for the info based on what man-made institutions of higher training proclaim as necessary, you will begin to reacquaint with your true self, a realm probably only the mind has access: the unknown. Using time, you are able to see nature in its natural element. It is here where you'll see where forever begins. Seeing this requires nothing more than a desire to see with more than your eyes. See with your mind. Using the inner mind's eye, you see beyond global white supremacy, beyond the global economic collapse, beyond the fear of man-made camouflaged as natural disasters, rising food and gas prices, the flood of 2012, the alleged end of days. You see beyond all these things where you're able to see nature in its naturally raw, both creative and destructive element: space. So close your eyes and open your third. Disconnect and leave it all behind and travel with me. The number 33 is also considered a magical number, most notably known for its use in Freemasonry, which can be attributed to Albert Pike, a general of the Confederate Army, a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, author of the book that exposed the Masons, Morals and Dogma, confessed believer in Lucifer, and main founder of the Ku Klux Klan. By the way, it's not a coincidence he chose the acronym KKK because K is the 11th letter, and K, or 11 times 3, equals 33. This country honors this man by putting a larger-than-life statue of him in, of all cities, Washington, D.C., where the majority population is African people. And to top that, Pike's statue was dedicated 39 days after fellow Mason Teddy Roosevelt's presidential inauguration in 1901. Additionally, in the book In God's Name, written by David Yallop, which exposes the murder of the Pope John Paul I, formerly known as Albino Luciani, who was in power for only 33 days, points out the Masons as a key role in his death because of his threat to make drastic changes in the Vatican. Count the number of spaces on the United Nations logo. Including the center one, you should count 33. Notice the color of the logo. Light blue symbolizes the first level of defense and is shared with Freemasons as well as the Boule, who protects the hidden names of those who rule the world, by the Sphinx placing his paw over an urn. 33 isn't just used by so-called secret societies. The start of every Indy 500 race always starts with 11 rows with 3 cars in each row. The number 39 takes on esoteric values when we find numerical mysteries have reached the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Space shuttle launches happen in Cape Canaveral, Florida. NASA, who consistently choose astronauts that also happen to be Masons, take off from the Kennedy Space Center that has 2 launch pads, and guess what they're numbered? 39A and 39B.
Now ask yourself, African, why would they start the number at 39? I mean, if you're going to start with 39, why isn't the second one number 40? It gets blatantly deeper when we find out the runway down to the launch pad is numbered runway 33. And the name Cape Canaveral is deep too. It translates to the Cape of Reeds. It just so happens the ancient Kemetic deity associated with reeds was none other than Asar. Now what's the purpose of NASA? To explore space or the heavens where Asar resides.
We feed our body cheap fuel in the form of fast food, fried foods, and nuclear microwave dishes. Yet we wouldn't dare put cheap gas in our SUV or coupe. But I can't entirely blame ourselves. The health education we got in school didn't deal with the importance of diet. On top of that, this imposter food that's manufactured has chemical additives to make it taste good, making it even harder to give it up. What we're not told is where this road of careless eating leads to. See, we've been told to expect deteriorating health as you get older. We're not taught we have an option that enables us to live a prosperous life as elders with clean kidneys, thin blood, and a strong heartbeat. The road of careless eating, in particular, one that is heavily laced with white sugar, leads to cancer. Again, I ask, what is cancer? Cancer is when the body begins to eat itself alive, so much that the body can no longer replenish what it needs. Most food substances, white in color, are void of nutrients because they're bleached. So when you eat a lifetime of white sugar, white flour, white rice, white bread, dairy, and basically any other thing that's white, your body will digest it. But when the food goes through your intestines, it's not only forming waste it doesn't need, there's supposed to be some type of exchange with food as it passes through the stomach. This stage is where the nutrients are to be extracted out of the food. What the intestines doesn't need is compacted into waste and released out of urea. However, many are not aware that 100% of the waste is not out of you. Approximately 20 to 30% of it stays in your colon, and you know how bad shit smells. Over the years, your colon becomes a gravesite to all the corn dogs and Happy Meals you ate, rotting more and more in the 98.6 degree oven your body's temperature maintains. One of the most vital organs affected from years of white sugar consumption are the adrenal glands. Not from overwork, but from continued whiplash. See, this is where it gets deep. The overall production of hormones is low. The entire endocrine circuit is shot, and the brain may soon begin having trouble telling the unreal from the real. Sound like Alzheimer's disease to you? The Alzheimer's is the deterioration of intellectual functions such as memory and other senses. Author of Sugar Blues, William Duffy states, quote, "Doctors won't tell you that since the cells of the brain are those that depend wholly upon the moment-to-moment blood sugar level nourishment, they are perhaps the most susceptible to damage," unquote. I'm not telling you this to scare you. We've just been misinformed of what the world's most addictive drug does to us. You ask, why do I say white sugar is a drug? Because of its addiction. You might say it isn't addictive. I say it's more addictive than crack cocaine. The only reason this is hard to prove is because white sugar is legal, and in basically everything.